Okay. Good morning, learners. I'm Dr. Samuel Kofi, your French lecturer. I welcome you to KOFDOR French Communication. We focus on teaching and assist people to learn and speak French fluently. We provide varied lessons related to daily activities, and our lessons are accompanied with written and oral exercises. This particular course is structured into two main parts. We have oral expression that enable you to communicate, to express yourself as you meet people, or to also be able to relate to the daily activity that you do. The second component of the course is about business. So we'll address you with vocabulary and expressions that enable you to do business, to do transactions, especially banking, purchasing, and co. So today's lesson will be the first lesson on se présenter et présenter quelqu'un, which is to introduce yourself and also be able to introduce someone. Our main objectives are the following. Lecture des dialogues, saluer une personne, faire connaissance, la profession, dire sa nationalité, langue officielle parlée, exemple de se présenter et présenter quelqu'un. Et enfin, nous allons faire de conjugaison, à savoir le verbe avoir, le verbe être, le verbe habiter et le verbe venir de. So, the main features of this lesson will be about reading dialogue on which we are going to derive our expression and our lessons, which borders on to greet, to make friends or get acquainted with somebody. And in so doing, you look at the profession the person does, the nationality, the official language spoken by the person, and at the end of the lesson, you should be able to introduce yourself to somebody and also be able to introduce a friend or a colleague or a staff member in any setting to other people. And you also look at conjugation of a few verbs: to have, to be, to live at, and to come from, all of which would aid you to introduce yourself or to introduce somebody. So let's begin with the dialogue. We have three dialogues here, and the first one goes, it's between Julian and Natalie. And the second dialogue will be between Joel and Bruno. And the third dialogue will be between Lydie and Eloise. So I start with the reading. Kindly repeat after me so that you'll be able to speak it or know how to pronounce the words correctly. I begin the reading. Bonjour, mademoiselle. Bonjour, tu t'appelles comment? Je m'appelle Julien. Et toi? Enchanté, Julien. Je m'appelle Nathalie. Heureux de faire ta connaissance. Dialogue 2, which is second dialogue. Bonsoir, Bruno. Bonsoir. Comment ça va? Ça va très bien, merci. Et toi? Comment vas-tu? Je vais bien. Dans dialogue 3, which is the third dialogue. Salut Héloïse. Salut Lydie. Tu vas bien? Pas mal. So in these dialogues, you realize that people are greeting and asking how the fellow is or how one is. So we are going to derive our lesson here in French. For example, se saluer is okay to greet somebody or to greet each other. How do you greet? According to if you refer to the dialogues, we have bonjour, which is good morning, bonsoir, good evening. And the French, they have only two types of greeting, either bonjour or bonsoir. So from morning up to around 3 o'clock, 3:30, 4, we can still say bonjour. And if from morning till evening you haven't met the person, you still can say bonjour in the evening. Now, when we say bonsoir when the sun is going to sleep. When it gets into the evening, then we say bonsoir. Now, we normally say hi to a friend, to anyone we are very close to, which is salut, like the third dialogue, okay? So here, we cannot meet a boss in an office or go to somebody's office and say salut. No, the fellow is not known to you or he's not your friend. So you only use the formal one, which is bonjour or bonsoir. So now, this is how we greet in French. Bonjour, Then the response is bonjour. Bonsoir. The response will be bonsoir. We can say salut, and the fellow also respond salut. You don't say salut or bonjour. You know, when we are greeting, it should be lively, it should be communicative so that the fellow also will respond to you. So this is how we do it. Now, we can also say bonjour by adding name. That's why you have bonjour plus nom, as you can see on the first line. Bonjour plus nom, which is name. Or you can say bonsoir plus nom. You can say bonsoir, monsieur, which is good evening, sir. Bonsoir, madame. Good evening, madame. Bonsoir, mademoiselle. Good evening, miss. Okay, a lady who is not married. Most of the time, that's how we say mademoiselle. We can also say salut plus name. For example, salut, Kofi. Then Kofi, maybe Ama is greeting Kofi by saying salut, Kofi. Ama also can respond by Kofi also can respond by saying salut, Ama. That's what you have down there, salut plus nom, which is the name. Let's move to the next slide. Now, we have saluer quelqu'un still. So here we are going to greet by asking how the person is. How do you say that in French? We say comment ça va, okay, or ça va, and the response will be ça va bien, merci, or très bien, merci. Or you can say ça va, and the fellow will respond oui, ça va, merci. So I'm going to read the first column and the second column. Let's go. Comment vas-tu? Then the response will be je vais bien, et toi? Okay. Tu vas bien? Then the person can also respond je vais bien, et toi? Okay. Comment allez-vous? Or vous allez bien? And the one you are greeting, it could be maybe one person or many people. So if there are many, then they will respond by saying we are fine. And in French, we say nous allons bien. Okay. Et vous and you. Okay. So this is how it goes. Now, in asking for name, faire connaissance, getting to know somebody, we have to ask a few questions as at how the person is, the name, and where the person lives, the kind of language the person speaks, and the profession. All these things come into play to get to know somebody. Okay? If not, greeting alone does not make you get in acquaintance with somebody. But knowing all these elements enable you to know the person. So let's continue with questions and answers. You read after me, please. Comment tu t'appelles? Or, tu t'appelles comment? Or you can also say, comment t'appelles-tu? So you have three different ways of saying it with the tu. Now you also can greet by using the vous. Okay? Vous vous appelez, comment vous vous appelez? Or, vous vous appelez comment? Or in a very informal way, we can simply say, votre nom, monsieur, or votre nom, madame, votre nom, mademoiselle. That's why the ... is there to enable you varied whoever you are greeting. Okay. Now, let's go to the response. When they say, comment t'appelles-tu? The answer is, je m'appelle, then you mention your name, which is in red. Okay. Je m'appelle plus nom. Je m'appelle plus name. Example. Comment tu t'appelles? Then the first person will say, Julie will respond, je m'appelle Julie. Or Koussi also could respond, je m'appelle Koussi. Okay. Or if you ask votre nom or ton nom, meaning your name, please, the fellow can say, mon nom est Otin, like the third example. So getting to know somebody, we may ask where the person lives. Okay, faire connaissance, où l'on habite. Okay, asking where one lives. Où habites-tu? Please remember to repeat after me anytime I'm reading. Tu habites où? Or you can use the vous to also ask the question either where one lives. Où habitez-vous? Vous habitez où? And the answer will be j'habite à plus the name of where the person lives. For example, if I live at Circle, I'll say what? J'habite à Circle. Or j'habite à Adabraka. J'habite à 37. So please don't go and say 37, meaning 37. 37 is a geographical name. So it's, even though you are speaking French, it's still 37. You don't say j'habite à 37. No. Okay. Example. Tu habites où? J'habite à Dabraka. Okay. Vous habitez où? J'habite à Koumansi. So now to ask for about the profession somebody does, to inquire about one profession, we can see the following. Tu es étudiant, meaning are you a student? Tu es étudiante, are you a student? For a female. The first étudiant go for a male. And the second one, tu es étudiante, is for a female student. Student at the university or wherever the person may be attending school, okay? And especially the higher education. And the answer will be, oui, je suis étudiant. Et toi? And you? So now this engage a little of conversation. Now, you can also, the number 2, you can ask, tu travailles? And the person will say, oui, je travaille. Okay? And in saying je travaille, I work, you can mention now the kind of work you do. Okay? For example, I am a teacher. Okay? I'm a lecturer. Then you can say, oui, je suis professeur. Okay? So we plus the profession. Oui, je suis professeur. Oui, je suis enseignant. Okay? I'm a teacher. Okay? Now, if I don't work at all, you can say, non, je ne travaille pas. Okay? So, tu es étudiant? Oui, je suis étudiant. Tu travailles? Non, je ne travaille pas. Have you seen that one? Now, the number 3, the third way of asking how somebody, what somebody does in life is, quel travail fais-tu? You can also use the vous, which I didn't indicate here. Quel travail faites-vous? Okay? Now, let's go with the tu. Quel travail fais-tu? Then you can say, je suis plus de profession. Okay? Profession. Je suis comptable, I'm an accountant. Je suis banquier, I'm a banker. Je suis militaire, I'm a soldier. Je suis policier, I'm a policeman. Okay? So now, let's continue. This brings us to study the different type of profession, okay, that will enable you to engage in your conversation. They are, please read with me. In French, we have a difference between the gender, which is masculine and feminine. And it also applies to words or adjective or nouns. We have nouns that are classified to be masculine, and you have those that are classified to be feminine. Then you have the English version attached to it. I might not read the English much, but the French, since you are learning French, I'll go through that with you. Let's go. Let's read the first column and the second column for male and female for professions. Enseignant, enseignante. Professeur, professeur. Banquier, banquière. Attaché commercial, attaché commercial. So you see attaché commercial for a male, there's no E at attaché, neither E at the commercial. But for the female, we had E at both sides, attaché and commercial. Un homme d'affaires, une femme d'affaires. Entrepreneur, entrepreneuse. Entrepreneur de bâtiment, entrepreneur de bâtiment. Okay? Un comptable, une comptable. Le PDG, which is président directeur général, the same thing applies for a female. La PDG, présidente, directrice générale. Un directeur d'entreprise, it is directrice d'entreprise. So the English are, for example, enseignant is teacher, professeur lecturer, banquier banker, attaché commercial, sales personnel, or somebody who is into selling things, okay? Now, un homme d'affaires, a businessman, and then une femme d'affaires, a businesswoman. We have entrepreneur, which is a contractor, okay? Now, entrepreneur de bâtiment, we have a building contractor. Un comptable, an accountant, le PDG or la PDG is the CEO, okay? Then we have a directeur d'entreprise, which is company director or a director of a company. We have commerçant, commerçante, marchand, marchande, téléphoniste, téléphoniste, architecte, architecte, maçon, maçon, menuisier, menuisière, peintre, peintre, soudeur, soudeuse, informaticien, informaticienne, technicien, technicienne, secrétaire, secrétaire, journaliste, journaliste, boulanger, boulangère. policier, policière, soldat, soldat, militaire, militaire, douanier, douanière, pompier, pompière, pilote, pilote, mécanicien, mécanicienne, conducteur, conductrice, cuisinier, cuisinière, médecin, médecin, infirmier, infirmière, sage-femme, sage-femme. So you can see a midwife is the same for male and male. So some of the professions are like soldat. It's also soldat, militaire, militaire. Some of them are the same, but some also vary a little. Now let's talk about nationality. Since you want to know somebody, you need to know also where the person comes from. We are going to talk about the countries and then the nationality in terms of masculine and feminine. Then the English will follow. I will not be reading the English one since we are learning the French, so you have the English aside. For example, if you come from Ghana, okay, le Ghana, we have un Ghanéen, une Ghanéenne. France, un Français, une Française. Côte d'Ivoire, un Ivoirien, une Ivoirienne. Togo, un Togolais, une Togolaise. Bénin, Béninois, Béninoise. Algérie, Algérien, Algérienne. Nigeria, Nigérien, Nigériane. Niger, Nigérien, Nigérienne. Burkina Faso, un Burkinabé, une Burkinabé. Égypte, un Égyptien, une Égyptienne. États-Unis, un Américain, une Américaine. Sénégal, un Sénégalais, une Sénégalaise. Now, let's ask a few questions which bordered on pays d'origine et langue officielle parlée. Okay, donc country of origin and official language spoken. Question. Quelle est ta nationalité et la langue officielle parlée? So what is your nationality and the official language spoken? Okay, then second column in response, you say, je suis Ghanéen, je parle anglais. I'm a Ghanaian and I speak English. We can also ask the following question. Ta nationalité, s'il te plaît. In asking about somebody's nationality, ta nationalité, s'il vous plaît. Or, votre nationalité, s'il vous plaît. Ok, donc ta nationalité, s'il te plaît, rather, then votre nationalité, s'il vous plaît. And the answer will be, je suis togolais, je parle français. Tu viens de quel pays? So you can also ask, tu viens de quel pays? In getting to know where the person comes from. Or, votre pays d'origine, s'il vous plaît. Then the answer can also be, je viens du Ghana, or je viens de la France, je suis français. So, after learning all this, asking questions about knowing, getting to know the name, where the person lives, where the person comes from, which is the nationality, the profession, all the while to be able to introduce yourself or introduce somebody and getting to know someone. So this is an example of se présenter, to introduce yourself. And I'm going to read it. Kindly read after me. Bonjour, je m'appelle Jean-Marc. Je viens de la France. Je suis français, mais j'habite à Koumassi, où je travaille. Je suis banquier à Ecobank. Je suis le directeur des relations publiques. Je suis marié. J'aime le sport, la musique et les débats sur l'économie. Now, the second example will be based on how to introduce someone else. Donc, présenter quelqu'un. Présenter quelqu'un. Bonjour. J'ai le plaisir de vous présenter Madame Doris Pokuya. Elle est ghanéenne. Elle habite à Tema. Madame Pokuya est une femme d'affaires. Elle exporte des produits ghanéens en Europe et en Amérique. Elle importe aussi des sacs et costumes unisexes de la Chine. Elle aime le sport et le cinéma. Merci. So in conjugation, we are going to know how to conjugate avoir with the various subject or subject pronouns. So here it goes. To have. You have to be, you have to live at, and you have to come from. So the first verb which is avoir, to have, goes like this in the present tense. J'ai, tu as, il a, elle a. Nous avons, vous avez, ils ont, elles ont. Example, j'ai un ami, I have a friend. J'ai un livre, I have a book. Okay? Now let's go with to be. Être. Je suis, tu es, il est, elle est, nous sommes, vous êtes, ils sont, elles sont. So I am, you are, he is, she is, we are, you are, they are, which is the to be, être. Now habiter. To live at. J'habite, tu habites, il habite, elle habite, nous habitons, vous habitez, ils habitent, elles habitent. Venir de, to come from. So here I'm only going to conjugate venir. I will not add the de, but when I'm speaking I come from, then you add the de to it. Example, let's go with the conjugation. Je viens, tu viens, il vient, elle vient. Nous venons, vous venez, ils viennent, elles viennent. So these are the conjugation that you may. For example, I come from Kumasi, je viens de Kumasi. I come from Ho, je viens de Ho. I come from Tamale, je viens de Tamale. So in this case, you add the de when you want to say I come from, okay? Let's continue our lesson with exercise 1. And this exercise will enable you to put into practice all that you have studied within these lessons. Let's continue. You meet a francophone in a shop. In a dialogue, tell how you get to know him or her. So the fellow could be a lady or a man. 1. Write your short dialogue in French. And 2. Present your dialogue orally. So after you have finished writing your dialogue, you read it as a way to practice oral expression. As if somebody is in front of you, then you practice it with the person. Exercise 2. You are attending a conference in Paris. Before the meeting starts, you are required to introduce yourself to the audience. Introduce yourself in French. So you are going to do this in French at a conference where you have to stand and greet everyone and then introduce yourself. And in so doing, remember the various points that you have studied, telling your name, where you come from, and especially your nationality, the work that you do in your country, and especially the position. By saying you haven't done the position, just mention the work that you do, your profession, not add the position as at now, because we do that later on. Then probably if you are married, you mention it, then that is it. Then you express your joy of being at that conference. We have ended this lesson. Thank you very much for coming, and I hope to meet you next week for the next lesson. Thank you. Bye-bye. Au revoir.